The next long-term project we're going to be getting stuck into is learning and rediscovering the art of making pattern-welded Damascus barrels. I'm talking gorgeous patterns wrapped in a helix along the length of a barrel tube. Ever since I first saw these things, I wanted to know, how was it done? How were these welds made? How were they strong? And what is the history of how Damascus barrels came to be? Like, why couldn't they just drill a hole down an iron bar? In the next episode in this series, we're gonna dive back to 1700s barrel making techniques, where we're gonna learn about how the material limitations of the day prompted them to try and reorient the grain, eventually leading us to the Damascus barrels of the 19th and early 20th century, which we're gonna look at today. I've been doing my research on how this stuff was done. There is not a lot out there, but there is this utterly awesome video on YouTube, Canons Damas la Fabrication. And this is gonna help explain why this is so interesting to me. So this is in the province of Liège in Belgium, 1925 and 1931. And Liège has an incredible history for Damascus barrels, like really, really famous. And when we were at Wesley Richards, they're always referencing the Liège Damascus barrels alongside the Birmingham Damascus barrels, of course, as well. So this is more modern than the very, very origins of barrels. Here we're talking about technology from the 1800s as opposed to the 1700s. Little half-height aprons, interestingly. Instead of like covering their top, they just cover their legs. Masse de fer et d'acier.
Baguette. They're making baguettes now?
That's exactly what they're making.
Has this gone from blacksmith to baker then?
What I think they're saying here is that they're going to laminate iron, fer, and acier, steel, into thin sticks. Oh, here we go. How the billets are assembled from iron and steel. Okay, this is sick. This is what I'm talking about, Jamie. So this is how they make these wild patterns, starting with square cross-section steel, flat cross-section steel, making these incredible bundles. They were able to write names in their barrels.
Why have we never made Damascus like this with sheets and with like cubes?
Because it's almost impossible to find square material. So this is cool. They weld that stuff down into a long square bar. They then twist them up. Same old stuff that we do all the time. They got a little hand crank twisting machine. They're controlling the twist with some water. You know, this is the same thing that I'd do if I was putting it on the lathe. I might use compressed air though. Don't want to get water all over my lathe. Oh, that's actually really neat. Look, instead of having to have anything to grip the bar, there is a little slot right here, a longitudinal slot, so there's no exact positioning you need. And then the workpiece has a little 90-degree bend on it. So you don't have to clamp it, you just bend the workpiece, and then as long as it's cold, it's not going to bend further when you're twisting it. These are neat little techniques that could be just absolute time savers. There we go, again we see the bend. This video is our only reference that isn't kind of illustrations in books on how this stuff was done. This is so special that this video exists on YouTube, because otherwise this is just, you know, lost to the ages. It looks like, what, like 10 millimeters square bar, 12 millimeter square bar that they're kind of working with. Really, really quite thin. I think they're about to get ready to weld, there we go. So 3 or 4 square bars are going to be welded into a little flat ribbon. Sometimes in the texts that I've got, it's referred to as a riband, which might be the old way of saying ribbon. Might have been reband, R-I-B-A-N-D. Now they're obviously using coal fires, not gas forges, and there we go. That looks like 3 square bars stacked up, and they're starting from the end, and they're going to weld it all the way down.
So why would they not just coil a single piece of Damascus? Why do they weld 3 together first?
It's so that they can get more width out of it. Because if you had to coil a single square bar, it's a lot of coiling. But I also think this is relevant for the pattern development here, because what they're able to do is kind of get twists in opposite directions. They can also get text put into these things, and it's really crazy how wild these Damascus barrels can get. You know, obviously some Smith and Striker work going on here. The guy with the small hammer, he's the quote-unquote master, and he's telling the guy with the big hammer where to hit.
Was this swage here? Is this swage in the anvil how they would have made those pipes previously then that we did?
Well, I think that's still going to be relevant for this.
Right.
So because, you know, no matter what, you're working with a tube, you need to constantly kind of make it round. So, you know, once you weld it, you need to constantly be working it in a swage.
Right.
So that you're not making flat spots. And so what this looks like, this is a purpose-built anvil for barrel making, or purpose modified. But I'm honestly, I assume this is a barrel maker's anvil with swages in it for the common sizes. So it's nice and rigid. and you would just always have it there, ready and accessible.
We could turn that knife maker's anvil into a file maker's anvil.
Dude! Yes, we could. Or we could restore the knife maker's anvil and then make inserts, keyed in inserts of swages. That'd be super authentic as well. Shoot, how far do we want to go down this rabbit hole? Because this could be like this could be, even bigger than the titanium rabbit hole in terms of like all the things that we could do to experiment with this technique. Now the good thing they've got going for them is they're using a coal fire, which means they can get way more controlled heats in terms of heating localized areas. That's what's going to be hard with the gas forge. The gas forge, you have to go into this pipe, but in the coal fire, you can kind of come from above and pop it in and then lift it straight out. So we might have to break out the coal forge again.
What about the torch?
It's just inefficient. It doesn't work so well. And heating with an oxypropane torch, you oxidize the material a lot more. Because when it's in a coal fire or in a propane forge, though there is oxygen, generally a lot closer to a neutral atmosphere than just a torch, because the whole thing is burning gas. So the burning of the gas is getting rid of the oxygen.
It's also throwing it back a bit old school with the coal forge as well.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Damn, they are quick hammers.
Wow, that's crazy.
They're using a little bit of a sizing gauge to figure out how thick it is. It's quite thin, really. I mean, that's got to be like 30 by 8 millimeters, if not 30 by 6 millimeters, inch and a quarter by quarter inch. How long do you reckon those pieces were? Kind of 4 foot long?
Something like that.
That there, I'd say that's kind of 2 like arm widths. That one maybe even longer. Yes, that's what it was and then what it became. Oh, the chemise, a layer of tin, is wrapped around the mandrel. What?
I thought chemise meant like t-shirt.
Yes. So they're putting some sort of a t-shirt on the mandrel.
A tin shirt?
Presumably, I wonder why. I wonder if that's so they can get it to not stick to the mandrel. The mandrel is assembled. What are they doing? Maybe this is the mandrel used for twisting it, not the mandrel for welding it. Okay, now they're showing their tools. One tool goes on the anvil. Oh, I love it. That's so sick. Oh, it is such a primitive and brilliant tool. He's bracing it with his hip over here, and he is pulling and twisting that material through these dogs right there.
That's really quick. I thought it was going to be way slower than that.
Well, this isn't welding, this is just the twisting. And they've maybe twisted what? Kind of 6 inches or so in one go, and then they bend it back.
Well, I can just say that when you and I try this in a moment, I don't think we're going to get that much bent around before it's welded like that.
No, it's going to be an absolute disaster when we try it. Okay, they then heat it up some more, with the mandrel still attached by the looks of it. Then they bend it back out. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they had to bend it straight to put it in the forge, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good lesson for us. It's like, I need to make sure that when we're working this stuff, I stop working while I still have the heat to... Wow! And that thing has been wrapped into probably like a 3 foot long piece at that point in time. After the wrapping, it's 3 foot long. And it's got to be what? About an inch and a bit in diameter, maybe? Inch and a quarter in diameter. And you see it's much beefier near the breech here. Much thicker here than back there.
That's because they're making a blunderbuss.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, blunderbuss is like, it's cone, it's like goes out wider at the end.
Oh, no, I mean this is...
No, I was joking.
Got it. Well, it's because obviously the pressures are much higher there. So a barrel needs to be much heavier near where the main explosion happens. Okay, so the whole tube is spiralized before any of it's welded, which actually is not what I expected.
I thought they welded it as they're going.
I would have thought so too. Say, look, all the different tubes ready or in process from welding. And he's currently like testing the size of one while they're taking the video.
What about the photo that we have from Wesley Richards of a barrel which is half welded and half twisted?
I think that there's a number of things we could surmise from that. One, that might just be an art piece. Like, here's how it was done. 2, it might be that different blacksmiths did it different ways. It might be that some people spiralized it and welded it in as they went, and some people spiralized the whole thing and then welded it, coiled the whole thing. Okay, here we have unwelded tube. Oh, yes, that's how they do it. They upset it to weld it. They're bumping it up on end, bow, 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 to weld it, and then they put the mandrel in on another heat, and then clean it up with the mandrel in. You see how that mandrel's got a little bend in it, Jamie? So that you can knock the mandrel out really easily against the side of the anvil. We're gonna need to make sure we have a bend on there, look at that.
We wouldn't have done that.
No, we wouldn't, and we would have been fighting it the whole time. Out of the fire, and he bumps it against the inside face of the anvil a little bit. And then they weld it some more. Boom, knocks it off with a hammer. Okay, the mandrel needs to have a 90-degree bend. Now look at all the different sizes of swage that they have in that anvil. So this is either a different workshop or a different anvil. There's gotta be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different swage diameters here for as they're working the barrel. So we're gonna have our work cut out. Boom, out the fire, a sparkling heat. Mandrel got thrown in by the helper super quick, and they're just spinning it around while they weld. So he bumps it against the inside face of the anvil to get it welded.
Yeah, look how quick they're hitting. That hasn't been sped up either.
No. They're relatively light hammers, but also like speed is of the essence here. You only have so much time at welding heat that you just gotta get all those hammer blows in as quick as possible before it's cooling down. And because it's in a swage, there's so much contact with the anvil that it's gonna cool it down really quickly.
So are we gonna try and recreate this?
I think we're gonna have to, Jamie.
So are we both gonna have to grow mustaches?
I think so.
Well, that might take a while. It might take you even longer.
Okay, you see he's over here. He's then hammered something in. I think he's made a handle. I think he hammered a mandrel in to use as a handle for then welding it as it's getting too hot near where he's holding. Brilliant. Oh, he's cooling it down in water. Oh, look at that! Now that he's welded the end, he's cooling it down in water so that he can control the heat a little bit. There's no mandrel in it at the moment here. So it seems like sometimes they're welding it with a mandrel and sometimes they're not. So as long as you're not crushing it.
Now look at that, how he's scrubbing on the...
Getting all the scale off. Oh, it's brilliant. It's like a half-round little scale scrubber. And there's their gauge to see the dimensions they're working to. Look, he's got a pipe. he's hammering away with a pipe. You need to get a
Making
pipe.
a pipe and smoking a pipe.
Yeah.
This man loves pipes.
Oh yeah.
He lives and breathes pipes.
The mandrel has a slight taper to it and is maybe kind of 2 foot long. Look at him, look, he has his hammer going. Bow, 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 hitting on end to get that puppy welded, using the inertia of the bar against
Look
the
at
side
that
of the
guy's
anvil.
pipe.
How is it not falling out of his mouth?
He's blown in
Did
the
he
end of
blow down it?
Yeah, I noticed that a second ago.
No. Yeah, he does. He blew down to clean it of crud.
So they blow the pipe.
Yeah.
Bit sus.
Oh, slips it in. Boom. This is taking them a long time. So they have forged the area up here into an octagon. They're now putting a maker's mark onto it. This is like a touch mark.
Why did they not use a 60-watt fiber laser for that?
I don't know.
A sword.
That looks like a bayonet. He is cleaning the scale off with a bayonet. There is a barrel tube. The barrel will be ground and polished. I'm interested to see how they do this. Here, there's obviously a grinding shop, and he gets sent all the barrels, and they're in charge of grinding them. And look at those enormous stones.
I was just about to say they're absolutely massive.
Yeah. You know where you can see stones like that in England? The quarries in the Peak District. As luck would have it, the day after we filmed this, Jamie and I, we went climbing in the Peak District, and have a look at what we saw.
Oh look at that.
Oh yeah, it's a millstone.
That is an old grinding stone.
This here is millstone. This is an old gritstone quarry here in the Peak District, where they would have quarried this rock into the wheels that would grind the tools and equipment that fueled the Industrial Revolution here in Sheffield. Look at all these holes from quarrying it, I guess.
This must be how they broke it apart to get blocks out, drill holes and...
What, dynamite, I guess?
Bloody big, isn't it? I wonder how much further forwards it used to come back in the day. I think the next objective is to go up that.
And of course, it was sweltering out there. It was hot. Middle of June, exerting ourselves climbing, we had to stay hydrated, and we did that with our sponsor, Element. It's an electrolyte drink mix that is a part of my daily ritual because I'm always out for a run or going climbing, and even here in the workshop, staying hydrated is so important. Staying properly hydrated is not just about drinking water, it's also about having the correct amount of electrolytes. And each electrolyte stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of just what you need, with no dodgy ingredients, sugar, or artificial colors. They have just come out with a brand new flavor, the limited edition lemonade salt.
Where do we just go up?
It's kind of like we went down into hell, but we were in fact going up.
It
So I don't
was.
know how that works.
It was kind of like that.
You were in your element, you.
I was in my element. Only because of my element. It's a good one, Jamie.
Quite smooth.
That was very good. Not as smooth as their new lemonade salt flavor. Just what I needed. It's so good. Go to drinklmnt.com/forge.
Where with any purchase, you're gonna get a free sample pack when you use code FORGE at checkout. Go get some and go get that sample pack. Let's get back to it.
So they're making these long straight pipes on these giant stones.
Yeah. Oh, what? There's no footage of them grinding it. Etching with, oh, they use sulfuric acid. This is how they reveal the pattern. We missed the grinding, they didn't show us the grinding. All of that, and they don't even show us the grinding. So it looks like part of the process might be sulfuric acid, then hot water, then sulfuric acid, then hot water maybe. The thing is that when they are making these Damascus barrels, what they're not dealing with is, and look at that contrast, that is actually amazing.
That looks insane.
See, when we make a Damascus steel, we're working with 1080 and 15N20. And the reason that we see contrast when that's etched is 15N20 has 2% nickel. 1080 just has 0.8% carbon. 15N20 also has 0.8% carbon. But the key differentiator between them is that 2% nickel. The nickel helps it be more corrosion resistant, so when we put it in the acid, the 1080 etches away, but the 15N20 doesn't. Now, what would have happened back in the day is they would have been dealing with quite simple steels and iron. They would have had one element that would be a high carbon steel, another element that would have been a little bit more akin to iron, and they would weld those together, and that's how they'd get their pattern. But the thing is, carbon diffuses across the bonding zone and diffuses between the two metals. So though you might have one bit of steel that starts with 0.8% carbon and another bit of iron, for argument's sake, let's say 0% carbon, you weld them together. Over the course of welding and twisting your Damascus barrel, you actually end up with a really evenly distributed, diffused carbon through the whole thing. It goes through the weld boundaries. And so you'll end up with something that has, on the whole, 0.4% carbon across the whole thing. It diffuses across. Carbon is so small relative to the iron atoms, from what I understand, that it just can basically run around through the material, whoop, 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 and diffuse evenly through it. So how do they get the pattern?
Well, I was going to say, would that give them a less vibrant pattern?
Well, see, that's what I think.
Pattern?
I think so. Because if we put mild steel with 1080, there is some contrast and some difference, but it's quite subtle. So what's interesting to me is without the benefit of an alloying component like nickel, they're still able to get strong contrast, despite the fact that the carbon diffuses through the whole thing and ends up being quite a consistent kind of carbon percentage.
So I've actually seen a lot of Damascus barrels on shotguns and hunting rifles in like stately homes and things like that. They sometimes have collections of that kind of thing. And I have noticed that the Damascus patterns, you've got to look really closely, and sometimes you can't even tell it's Damascus until you're very, very close to it.
Oh, look at those patterns!
Yeah, those are like spirally kind of shapes.
So that's from the twist, and then grinding into the twist. So there we go, look! Look at that. Zenob Graham, a Belgian electrical engineer, he invented the electric motor in 1873, and he had a Damascus barrel made with his name in it. Look at that. I want to do this, Jamie. As soon as I saw this, I want to freaking do this. I want to get names written in Damascus steel barrels. How sick would that be? Thank you guys for watching this. I am so excited about trying to recreate these techniques. Will's got a cool video that covers some shotgun barrel stuff as well. But again, thanks for being here, thanks for watching. Can't wait to see you as we dive more into the Damascus barrel making project. See ya, bye-bye.
End of the day, we didn't die.
It was a big day. Lemonade salt, just what I needed.
It all went in my face.
So good. Yeah.